How can you not help your brother? Father roared while I eyed my empty account. $88,000 wiped out overnight. Mother grinned. His engagement bash required it. He deserves a helicopter debut. Plus much more. I froze. My sibling guffawed and remarked, "Perform your duty." Being the older one. I didn't retort. I simply strolled away. Just this morning, they finally uncovered the reason. Have you ever felt like a bank account with a heartbeat? Because for years that's all my family saw me as. But nothing could prepare me for the morning I woke up to find they'd stolen nearly $90,000 from me. All for a party. My name's Alex. I'm 31, and I've always been the older one, the responsible son. I work as an operations analyst, the kind of job where precision is everything. My desk is always clean, my shirt's always ironed. I can tell you the unit cost of a pallet faster than I can tell you my favorite movie. Growing up, be useful was the closest thing we had to I love you. So that's what I learned to be. I fixed the printers, organized the closets, sent money for just a bit. That somehow became forever. My brother, Ryan, he's 26. Ryan has this charm like a coupon for free forgiveness. He smiles and parking spaces appear. He fails upward. In high school, he won most likely to be on TV. And it just stuck to him like glitter. Now, he sells houses, mostly by taking photos in fancy kitchens and talking about vibes. Dad calls him my boy. Mom says he's got star quality. When I got my first real job, Dad grunted, "Good, steady." When Ryan got his first client, Dad beamed, "Finally destiny." Mom, she's the architect of our family illusions. She loves a plan with a theme and a budget that's flexible, as long as the flexibility comes from me. She's got lists, binders, tabs. She makes coffee in a French press because it looks fancier, then microwaves it twice and forgets it on the windowsill. She always knows exactly what she wants from me, even before I know I'm in the room. Me? I keep my life simple. A one-bedroom over a dry cleaner. A car that rattles when it idles. A savings account I look at like a pet I'm trying not to scare. I run before work. I eat oatmeal. I text home safe in the family chat every single night, because being safe in my family always meant being available. This story, it really kicks off at my parents' dining table. It's the long one Dad built out of oak back when he still did carpentry. The varnish has bubbles in it because he rushed like he always does when he wants something to be admired more than he wants it to be right. Mom had spread out glossy brochures like playing cards, venues, florists, even something with a gold foil helicopter on the cover. Yeah, those exist. Ryan was half sitting on the edge of a chair, half on his phone, grinning at an angle that screamed mirror practice. "Okay," Mom said, tapping her binder with a pen. "Engagement party. Not just any party. A statement. A moment." She looked at me, like a director about to give the lead actor his cue. "We'll need deposits. Early is cheaper." Dad grunted, the way he does when he's made up his mind. "We do it right for Ryan. Once in a lifetime." Ryan finally glanced up, all milk-white teeth. "Has to be epic. She deserves epic." "I thought the wedding was the epic part," I said, my voice careful, like I was testing thin ice. Mom flipped a page. "Weddings are for families. This is for their story. Helicopter entrance. Very tasteful. Not tacky at all. You only live once." She smiled at me, a sweet, predatory thing. "Alex, you know how these vendors book up. You'll handle it." "Handle what?" I asked, even though I knew. I always knew. "The budget," she said lightly. "You're good with numbers. You know how to do things efficiently." Ryan leaned back, stretching like a cat. "Just don't make it cheap," he said. "I have a brand," Dad added, without looking at me. "And don't embarrass us." There it was. The tiny blade hidden in the napkin. "Don't embarrass us. Not can we talk. Not what can you do." Just the assumption, baked into the air. Older equals sponsor, responsible equals invisible wallet. I blew on my coffee, watching the steam slide off. "What's the actual number, Mom?" She looked offended, like I'd asked how much her love cost. "We'll figure it out. We always do. Just do your big brother duty," Ryan chirped. Like it was a joke he told 100 times and it always got a laugh. Dad's phone dinged. He ignored it. His eyes were on me now. "Don't make this difficult." Something small in my chest shifted, like a door quietly clicking into a different frame. I wasn't angry, not yet, just awake. The room smelled like coffee, dust, and a lemon candle trying too hard. I stood to refill my mug. Aunt Denise breezed in from the kitchen with a tray of deviled eggs and a comment that landed with that special family accuracy. "Alex, you know how to be practical," she said. "Your brother knows how to be special." Everyone laughed. I didn't. That was the first trigger. Not the helicopter, not the binder. Just that sentence. That sentence that assigned me a role I never auditioned for. I took a sip of my coffee and said, "Got it." And for once, I meant it in a way they didn't hear. It didn't start with helicopters, of course. It started with birthdays, allowances, what counted as a good reason. When I turned 12, I wanted a second-hand bike. Dad said, "You pay half, you'll take care of it." I mowed lawns, raked leaves, counted quarters on the kitchen table. When Ryan turned 12, he wanted a drone. "Boys need toys," Dad said, and bought the newest model. When it broke, because Ryan flew it into the maple, Dad said, "We'll get it fixed." When my bike got a flat, Dad said, "Patch kits in the garage. Be a man." Money was a language we spoke, but no one taught me the grammar. Ryan asked and money came. I asked and money became a lesson. I don't hate that. I learned to work. But there's a bitterness when you realize lessons only ever cut one way. At 17, I worked nights at the grocery store, saving tips in a jar labeled college. The jar sat on the top shelf in my closet. One weekend in July, it moved to the kitchen counter. "Just for a minute," Mom said. "We need to pay the gas bill before it doubles. We'll put it back." Dad said. They did. Over 3 months. Minus a little. Because things come up. The jar, I realized, learned about evaporation. At 20, Ryan borrowed my car for a date and came back with the bumper zipped to the undercarriage with a bungee cord. "Long story," he shrugged. Dad told me, "Be proud your brother's dating a nice girl." Paid the $412 to fix it, because pride doesn't make a safe left turn. At 23, when I graduated and got the logistics job, Mom threw a cookout. Aunt Denise hugged me and whispered, "We always knew you'd be useful." Like it was a prophecy fulfilled. The next week, Dad called. "We're switching the phone plan to a family plan. It'll save money." It saved theirs. I added my card just to set it up, and never got it back. When I brought it up 6 months later, Mom said, "It's hard to pick a good moment with everything going on. When isn't there something going on?" I kept a note on my phone called Tallies. $68 for urgent Comcast. $340 for Ryan's tire. $175 for Mom's crown popped off. $920 deposit for Ryan's first apartment because his credit had a mix-up. $200 for Dad's bridge loan to cover a client check delay. They were going to Venmo Friday. They didn't. I deleted the note. It made me someone I didn't want to be. Someone who kept score. Funny how not keeping score only helps the person who's winning. My savings grew anyway. I'm good at starving my own wants. I lived small. Lunch was rice and eggs. I liked the number in the bank app more than I liked new shoes. I had a plan. A down payment on a small condo in 2 years. Maybe a place with a balcony that could fit a chair. Then Ryan met Emma. She's kind and gentle, and she blinks 3 times when she's thinking. She made him want to be better, but he thought better meant presenting bigger. Suddenly, "We should do something nice" became "we can't be basic." He asked me for a little help with the ring. I said, "That's between you and the jeweler." He pouted and told Mom I was cold. Mom called and made it moral. "We stick together," she said. "Don't be the kind of person who can watch family struggle." A ring isn't a struggle, but in my family, definitions are flexible. The engagement party started as a backyard idea. Then it hopped fences. The garden at the Monarch. Mom said, "It's magical." Then there was a string quartet, a champagne wall, a neon sign in cursive. "Just the entrance has to be special," Ryan said, scrolling on his phone to show me a clip. 2 people stepping out of a helicopter onto a lawn while petals fell like snow. "It's just once," he said. "Look at the comments. Everyone cries." "Who's paying?" I asked like the village idiot who asks where the water comes from. Dad said, "You know, we're stretched." As if he had a right to narrate my checking account. "Maybe scale back?" I suggested carefully. "Do a cool car instead?" Mom gave me the smile you give a child who colored outside the lines. "You think small because you're used to small. Or because I have to pay for small." I shot back too fast. Dad's jaw tightened. "Watch your tone." The planning meetings got weird. Not obvious yelling, just subtle knives. "Alex, you're so organized." Mom would purr, handing me a folder full of invoices. "Alex, you're steady," Dad would say, sliding a deposit form across the table. Ryan would wink at me, like we were in on a heist together, except I was the vault. I tried to set a boundary. I said, "I'll gift $1,500. That's what I can do." I felt brave for a second, like I'd finally drawn a line. Mom blinked. "That doesn't even cover the ice sculpture." She wasn't joking. Dad leaned in. "Don't be petty." "Petty is a helicopter," I said. He tilted his head, like he didn't recognize the word. A week later, I came by with a spreadsheet. It was simple. Columns for vendor, cost, date, who's paying. "Let's be clear and fair," I said. Ryan laughed. "This is giving tax audit." Mom said, "Money is energy, Alex. Don't make it ugly." Dad said, "We'll handle it." which in our house meant you will. I started noticing small things at my place. A drawer slightly open where I kept my passport. The iPad I used to set up the family phone plan moved. A post-it with a code half written and then torn. It made me feel paranoid, which is a lousy way to feel in your own apartment. I changed my bank password. Set up two-factor authentication. I told myself I was being dramatic. Then came the night that tipped the scale. We were back at the oak table. Mom had a new binder tab. Arrival. Ryan had a video queued up of a helicopter descending over vineyards. Dad poured coffee like it was whiskey. Decision day, Mom chirped. Monarch said we have to commit and pay the premium for the landing permit. They rarely offer it. It's fate or marketing, I said. Dad set his cup down hard. Don't start. Ryan said. Just say yes, man. Be a brother. Aunt Denise, never missing a cue, added. You'll understand when it's your turn. Like I was in training for generosity and failing the quiz. I looked at their faces, open and expectant. Like I was a vending machine that took kindness as currency. My stomach did a small, quiet flip. I said, I can't. Dad's chair scraped. The room went still like a photograph. How dare you refuse to help your brother? He snapped, not loudly, but with that tone that bruises. I didn't argue. I stood, rinsed my cup and said, I have to get up early. I kissed Mom's temple because love and boundaries can sit in the same mouth. Then I walked out. On the drive home, I tried to decide whether I was wrong. My phone buzzed twice. Ryan, you're unbelievable. Then, Mom, we'll talk tomorrow when you're calm. I went upstairs and set my alarm. I stared at the ceiling. I made a small list in my head, not of payments but of lines. Morning came. I made oatmeal. I opened my banking app to do my routine check before work. And then, I stopped breathing. I stared at my screen for a full minute without blinking. The numbers didn't make sense. My savings account balance was a number that belonged to someone else. The available line had collapsed like a tent in a storm. $88,000. Moved overnight. For transactions. A wire to Sky Vista Aviation. A cashier's check to Monarch Events. A charge to Floralux. A debit labeled ALC Lighting. My stomach went cold, then hot, then hollow. I checked the details. The wire initiated at 1:42 a.m. The cashier's check purchased at 8:57 p.m. at a branch across town. The florist's deposit hit at 10:13 p.m. My phone had been on my nightstand. My card hadn't left my wallet. The app showed verified by passcode. I felt a little sick. I called the bank. The hold music sounded like an apology. A woman named Carrie picked up and said all the sentences in the compliance script about taking unauthorized activity seriously. She asked if anyone else had access. I said no. Then I thought of the iPad. The drawer. The post-it. I changed my password last week, I said, my voice feeling far away. We can file a fraud claim, she said. We'll freeze your card and stop further transactions. She paused. If the person used credentials and knew your passcode, it may take investigation. I hung up and drove to my parents' house without deciding to. I parked crooked. I walked in. Mom was at the table with the binder open like an altar. Ryan had his feet up, flipping through a vendor booklet. Dad sat at the head, like a judge in a small-town court. I held up my phone. Explain this. Mom didn't look sorry. She looked annoyed. We had to act fast, she said, as if she were telling me why she changed the thermostat. Monarch had another couple interested in the date. Dad folded his arms. Don't be dramatic. You'll get it back. You always make more. Ryan laughed. You're being weird. It's for love, man. It's not like we took it to gamble. It's not yours, I said. My voice was calm. The kind of calm I usually reserve for vendors trying to overbill me by pennies. This wasn't pennies. It's not your money. Mom leaned forward like a guidance counselor. It's family money. We're investing in a memory. You'll thank me when you see the photos. You stole, I said. Dad slapped the table with his palm. Watch it. I changed my password, I said. Who had my phone? Ryan shrugged. You leave it around. It's not hard to guess. You use dates. Dad's mouth twisted. This is what you get for being secretive. I laughed once. It sounded like a bark. Secretive? It's my bank account. Mom smiled the way people smile before they say something obscene. He deserves a helicopter entrance. And more. She tilted her head. You don't want him to look cheap. You drained my savings, I said, each word its own step. $88,000. Ryan whistled low. Sounds bigger when you say it out loud. He flashed teeth. Just do your duty as the older one. There it was. The script. Duty. Duty means empty your pockets, hand over your spine, say yes, until your mouth forgets other shapes. I put my phone away. I looked at the three people I had loved with an ache that used to feel like purpose. I realized I could argue for hours, and it would land like rain on wax. I'm not arguing, I said finally. Dad smirked, victory already warming his face. Good. You were embarrassing yourself. I stood. I took my keys off the hook by their door, because somehow they'd ended up there. I set them in my pocket. Mom's eyes narrowed. Where are you going? Home, I said. To do what I should have done a long time ago. You can't stop the party, Ryan said. Contracts are signed. I looked at him. We'll see. Mom's voice turned sweet and dangerous. You're going to ruin your brother's life over a number on a screen? This isn't about revenge, I said steady. This is about closure. Dad muttered. Therapy talk. Like it tasted bad. I'll send you an email, I said, and walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't raise my voice. I got in my car and drove to the bank. The teller recognized the look on my face and didn't make me sit. She took me to an office with a fake plant and a real lock on the door. I told my story once slow. She listened like a human being. She clicked keys. We're freezing the account, she said. The wire is pending. The cashier's check can be flagged. These vendor charges are pre-authorizations. We can dispute. She had me sign an affidavit. She added a note. Account hijacked by close relation. She set up a passphrase that no one in my family could guess, because it was a word none of them would pick. No. Next, I called Sky Vista. A man with a cheerful voice answered. The kind people use when they know they're expensive. We don't reflect cancellations over the phone, he said. The booker signed a no-refund clause. The booker used stolen funds, I said. I have a bank fraud case number. If you fly that helicopter, you're participating in a criminal transaction. I gave him the number. I cited the bank. I CC'd my new email account I'd created that morning. He went quiet and said someone would call me back. I went to the Monarch. The event coordinator smiled until she saw my face. I told her the same sentence. Unauthorized funds. I showed her the case number. I handed her a printed letter, the kind I never write because I hate drama, stating that any contract signed in my name without my consent would be contested and prosecuted. She looked at the letter like it was hotter than the coffee in her hand and said, We'll review. I said, You have 24 hours. I CC'd Monarch's legal team from the email printed on the wall. Then I called my phone provider. Remove all additional lines from my plan as of today, I said. Transfer any remaining balances to the individual users. The rep started the script about family savings. I understand, I said. Remove them. Click, click, done. 3 lines went dark. Not revenge. Consequence. At home. I opened my laptop and made a new document titled 90 days. I wrote, email only. I will not respond to calls/texts. I'll reply to emails within 48 hours. I will not fund any expenses for the engagement/wedding/emergencies that are not hospital/police level. I will gift $1,500 directly to Emma with a note for what you want. I will not be an authorized user, guarantor, cosigner, or temporary holder for anyone. Twice monthly dinners are available. Public place, 1 hour, Thursdays at 6 o'clock. I printed it, slid it into a manila folder, and labeled it, What changes today? I slept for the first time in 2 nights. This morning, my phone started vibrating at 7:02 a.m. like it was possessed. 18 missed calls by 7:15. 14 from Dad, 3 from Mom, 1 from Aunt Denise. The group chat turned into an oven. Call me now. What did you do? My phone is off. Monarch says the payment is flagged. Sky Vista emailed saying the FAA permit is halted. I made coffee. At 7:40, someone pounded on my door. He didn't wait to be let in. He shoved past me, face the color of raw steak. You humiliated us. Mom followed, breathless, hair half done, binder clutched like a child. Ryan came last, in a hoodie and sunglasses, like the paparazzi were in my hallway. They canceled the helicopter, he said, as if reporting a death. Do you understand? The helicopter. I set the manila folder on the counter next to the kettle. Read, I said. Dad slapped it. I'm not reading your little manifestos. Then listen, I said. The bank froze the wire and the check. They flagged the florist and lighting. Sky Vista and Monarch have my fraud case number. Any venue that takes stolen money becomes part of a crime. I will not be your criminal. Mom's eyes went glassy. Stolen? We're family. Family isn't a bank, I said. Ryan pulled off his sunglasses like he wanted me to see his eyes. You ruined the entrance. The fact that he meant it made me weirdly sad. I will never forgive you, he said, like a teenager. I pointed at the list. This is what I will no longer do. This is what I am willing to do. If you want help budgeting, ask respectfully. If you want to talk, email. If there's a hospital emergency, call and I'll pick up. Everything else is a no. Dad planted himself in my kitchen like a monument. You think you're righteous? You forced our hand. You said no, I replied. I said I would gift $1,500. You took $88,000. It was a loan, Mom tried. You'll make more. You're steady. I'm steady because I don't do this, I said. I'm steady because my yes means yes and my no means no. Ryan started pacing. Emma's parents are going to think we're clowns. I picked up the smaller envelope I'd put inside the folder and handed it to him. This is a check for $1,500. It's made out to Emma, not you. She can use it for flowers, a dress, or a vacation from this circus. He stared at the check like it was a personal insult. This is petty. It's a boundary, I said. Dad's voice dropped to the low register he uses when he wants to scare the room. If you don't fix this, you're out of the family. I looked at him, at the man who taught me how to change a tire, and also how to ignore my need for rest. I'm not out, I said. I'm just not for sale. Mom grabbed for the moral high ground and slipped. What will people say? They'll say we didn't arrive by helicopter, I said. And then they'll eat the chicken. She made a small, wounded sound. Ryan swore. Dad shook his head like a coach watching a player refuse to play through pain. I don't recognize you. I finally recognize me, I said. They left in a storm of whispered strategies. Minutes later, the messages started landing like hail. At 8:22, a new email. Subject: You are sick, body. Return the money. I replied once, attached the 90-day document, and wrote, I love you. Email only. Twice monthly dinners are available. I won't discuss the party again. At 9:03, a voicemail from Aunt Denise. You're breaking your mother's heart. At 10:11, another from Dad. The bank called. They're asking questions. You're going to get us in legal trouble. At 11:30, a text from Ryan. Just let the helicopter go through and we'll pay you back after the wedding. I didn't respond. He sent 13 question marks. I blocked his number and sent him a single email. All communication by email. By noon, Sky Vista replied in writing. In light of the fraud alert, we are voiding the booking. The Monarch emailed. Contract under review. Deposit held in escrow pending investigation. The florist wrote a gracious paragraph about understanding family dynamics and no hard feelings. That one made me smile. Ate lunch. Rice, eggs, hot sauce. My hands weren't shaking. At 3 p.m., I met with a lawyer for a 30-minute consult. She read the affidavit. She told me to keep every email, to stop talking on the phone, to document everything. If they retaliate, credit cards, utilities, call me, she said. But I think you've done the important part. Which is? I asked. You stopped pretending money is love, she said. It's not. It's a tool. You're using it to build a boundary. That night I took a long shower. Not the kind where you think of better comebacks. The kind where you wash your hair twice because you can. I made tea. I watched a dumb show where no one asked anyone for $88,000. My body remembered what quiet feels like. The panic in the family chat reached a fever by bedtime. Mom posted a Bible verse about honor. Dad said, man, and then coward, which was a weird sequence. Ryan posted a black screen with white text. Some people are snakes. Emma, bless her, sent me a single email. I am sorry. I don't agree with this. Thank you for the check. I wrote back. I hope you get the party you want, not the entrance. She replied with a heart emoji. I didn't need a translation. I slept. I'm curious, what would you have done in my shoes? Or maybe, have you ever had to draw a line in the sand with your own family? Let me know in the comments.